Yo, what's poppin'? So, I want to do a little recap of the week because I didn't get to watch most of the games. I only got to see the first two and the last two out of the cottage. And I will, and this is just from like analysts and from people, things that I saw, people, things like that. So, it might not be like the best analysis, but I just want to make this video, kind of have an idea of what I'm looking at, and then I'll make my power rankings after. So, first up, I did catch this game. It was the Valiant reverse sweeping Philly 3-2. So this is Molly and Marvel's first games, and they both looked very good with the team. Uh, and Philly had it, and they just kind of lost it. I don't know. But it was definitely a fun match to watch. And then we had Seoul 3-2ing Chengdu. This was not like that one. It was more of a Seoul Chengdu, Seoul, like back and forth. Uh, Chengdu looked good though, and it's definitely an improvement. And they looked good in this meta because Gaga was on the ball, Monk was great on the Zen, and Jinmu had a great game. I wasn't a fan of Smurf Sigma. It was a little And Soccer did get like 3 maps, and he played quite well on Sojourn. But I don't think he played as well as Fifth might have. Anyway, Chengdu do C9 the final map and the final fight. Maybe they could have won it. No one. It's hard to say, but there's a chance. So then we have the West. We have London 3-0ing New York. The London rush goes crazy. Kellen was on horse on Coliseum. Not sure why. Not sure what. I don't know, but he was on it, so let's go. Let's go horse enjoyers. And New York is still the whole thing for them. Their whole is less than some of the parts. You have Yaki, you have Flora. They both played good at times. Flora was playing really good on route, but there's something not clicking with this team, and maybe that's why they bring in Ho1 or Ho1. I don't know how to say it. Because the Melmong definitely has not been impressing, but, and then we have Dallas 3-0ing Florida. Fearless on the ball. Fearless was on Winston, I believe. Or maybe that was the next match. I don't entirely remember. Guerrero was stepping up, and Fielder was playing well too. And the thing about Florida is they're kind of playing the counter rather than playing their own game. Like they'll try and counter Dallas, but then if Dallas makes a swap, they'll counter again, and someone just ends up switching characters a lot. Oftentimes, where someone will be on characters for far too little time, and I just need to figure out what they want to do as a team, and maybe have a it's always good to adapt to the enemy, right? But you want to have a core of your own. Like last stage, we saw them. Oh, their core is we have Surmajed. Surmajed's going to do things. That playstyle is not going to work as well this stage, just because of Zenyatta. So they need to find a new one. They need to find something new. And then Atlanta 3-1 Vancouver. And Vancouver is actually looking competitive. Aspire Tracer was going big. Aspire in general was going big. And the Mirror Doom was looking good, outplaying Atlanta at times. But Atlanta did look a little sloppy. It doesn't look like peak Atlanta. Maybe they are taking Vancouver a little easily. Maybe I don't know. But regardless, it was a relatively close 3-1 for Vancouver. Right? And Sky Reaper was not doing the best. I don't know. Sky Reaper, not a big fan of him so far this season. So then we move on to the second day of APAC. We have Spark 3-0ing Charge. Charge had a dominant first time in Ilios Ruins, and then it was Spark all day. Develop had a good Widow, then that was it. That was all. Alpha Yi and Shy going crazy. Alpha Yi on the Echo going crazy. And Krong was on Zarya for a little bit, I saw. I do think they want to lean into Krong because he's much better than Rio, because Rio's like maybe the worst main tank in the league. Maybe the worst tank in the league entirely, right? But he was on the Sigma, but I saw some Zarya. Don't like seeing any Zarya. So now Seoul 3-0 Shanghai. Bebe was in, so double flex support, right? Prophet was maybe on some characters. He was on the Pharah, maybe wasn't that great. He was on the Cassidy, maybe was a little better. But Fitz played very well. Stalker did play a little bit, but Fitz on the Sojourner, the Hanzo, was just standard Fitz gameplay. He was even on the Sombra that was decent. I did see Smurf on Zarya a little bit. I don't know about that, but I wasn't a big fan of their Sigma on Kings Row, so maybe it is a good adaptation. And Shanghai are still looking not like themselves. They're not looking awful. It's not like horrible like it has been, but it's not what the Shanghai we want to see. And then Chengdu beat Philly 3-1. Chengdu has beat Philly last stage too, I remember, so that's funny. But Philly looked good on the first map. They had the Ball Echo Tracer. Then they went over to Winston, and then they played a Roadhog and Eichenwald. And then they were on Zarya, and they're just all over the place. Like, the Roadhog map was actually close on Eichenwald, allegedly, but why are you on Roadhog? What's going on there? And then Jinmu Genji went big. Jinmu having a good week, right? 2 good matches. Which is what Chengdu needs to be good, is they need Jinmu to be good as well. Moving over to the West, we have the most important match, maybe of the season, of this stage, is Toronto against Washington. Toronto ends up winning 3-1 pretty decisively. Muse finally gets off the Winston onto the Doomfist, and it looked good. It actually looked good. And then you had Hisu on the Sojourn, and Finale on the Tracer, and everything that you ever wanted if you're a Toronto fan. And Kallios Doomfist was maybe not as good. His Sigma's good. His Zarya's good. His Doomfist, maybe not there yet. Then we move on to Shock 3-1ing Atlanta. Sam, it's a Hanzo enjoyer. Not so much on the Sojourn. Shock, not thinking the Sojourn is as strong as a lot of teams, other teams are maybe, and preferring the Hanzo. And Shock did a very good job of minimizing the value Kai was getting, either through diving him very aggressively on the Koth maps with Mikey, or through kiting him, or through not letting him build up the charge as easily with his primary fire, and just being very careful around Kai and his LOS. That ultimately leads him to taking down Atlanta pretty decisively. Like, relative to how high these teams are, like these teams are both like undisputed top 4. So to take them down 3-1 is pretty good. And then Vancouver lose to Dallas 3-0. And it's like people say close 3-0s. Like, Vancouver brought them to the brink the first 2 maps, right? They were both very close, overtime last pushes. But Dallas just a bit more winning, right? Gurion continues to be improving as the season goes on. And Fearless was on the Winston. It looked usable, but is it going to be enough against a team like the Shock or a team like Atlanta? Maybe not. Moving on to the final day, East, we have Valiant 3-1ing the Charge. It was Valiant all day, except on Midtown, where Charge was playing the Sigma and the Sojourn and the Hanzo, I believe. Just good stuff for their characters. But Valiant looked good. And it's a win against Charge, so it like kind of means nothing at the same time. Because if they lose to Charge, it looks really bad. So if you win, it doesn't really mean a lot. But they do seem to be quite good. They do beat that Philly, and maybe there's a chance for them to sneak in if Philly really mess up the following weeks. There's a chance for them to get in to the midseason Madness tournament. And then the Spark 3-0 Shanghai. Shy and Alpha continue to be absolute forces, and they had very similar playstyles and compositions at times. But Spark just raw diffed them straight up. So Shy Alpha E going crazy. Week 3, we have the Shock 3-1ing. Or West, the third West 3, so the third day of the West, rather. We have Shock 3-1ing Atlanta. Actually, he was in full time. I think Hydron might have been in one map. And he's playing well, but is he actually doing better than what Hydron was doing? I don't know. I didn't watch enough to tell you if that's true. I did catch a little bit of this map, but I don't know. On Coliseum, Florida roll out on the Rhine, and then Shock bring up their counter, and then Florida swap to mirror the Winston. Right? So it's like that was good. That's a good example of, you know, what they want to do. And you have you know what you want to do if there is a counter answer. That's good. You want to see that, but they're not doing that as concisely as I need to be doing on other maps, like on maybe what's it called, Circuit Royale. You see someone on Wrecking Ball. What's he doing there? What's going on there? And he's still swapping characters a bit too much. And it was a decently close series, but ultimately Shocker just still better. And Florida are still not. They're not quite there. People are harping in Florida. Maybe they're getting up there, but they're not there. Then you have the Gladiators 3-0 in Houston. There was a double C9 for Houston, and maybe the Houston takes the maps if they don't. It was that close, but it's hard to say. But overall, the Gladiators backline played much better than the Houston backline. It's not that the Houston backline were playing bad, but Shu and Skewed are just on another level, right? They're just on another level from Lastro and Iris. It's just not there. There's a very real possibility Houston don't see none of those 2 times, and they at least get 2 maps. But it's difficult. It is difficult. Yeah. So then we have Boston against Paris, and this was Crimzo City. Crimzo was doing so much all the time. He had 3 deaths per 10 minutes over the entire match, which is so good. And he was killing so much. Crimzo really used to be solidified as one of the better flex supports in this league, for sure. Paris basically didn't improve from last week. We saw Paris. We saw, they look okay with Dove. They look okay with Wubbin. This team will get better, but they just haven't. Just wasn't there. Another thing, Boston do look much better with Punk rather than Itzel. So that's good, and hopefully they continue to play Punk moving forward. And hopefully Paris do not continue to just play Don moving forward, because he was in full time and he struggled pretty badly. He was 8.6 deaths per 10 minutes, which is like awful. He's dying like once a minute. That's quite bad. Uh, I don't know. They need to figure out what's going on there, but Paris need to figure something out because they have good parts. Dove looks all right. Wob looks all right. But they don't look like they can actually get out of the bottom. I think. So anyway, that's gonna be it for me. Thank you so much for watching, and let me know down below any other important things that I missed. Of course, I remember I did not watch most of these games, so this is just things that I've seen, stuff like that. And I'll go back and watch some of them probably, but not all of them. Right? There's too much. But yeah, so have yourself a good one, and deuces.